Hello and welcome back to the Mission YouTube channel, and what a topic today, ways to grip a dart. I'm very lucky to have Matthew Edgar with me today, and I'm going to kick straight off with, when we're gripping a dart, Matt, should I have all my fingers touching the dart?
There are people that do it, but a lot of the time it's more variables. And what you want to do is you want to remove the amount of variables you have on the dart. I think there's only one professional player back in the day who ever used 4 fingers. You used to call him Kit Kat. The more fingers on, the more it's got to come off, because at no point are you ever going to leave something on. That release needs to be clean, it needs to be quick, it needs to be crisp.
Should I have them touching the point? I've seen some people have them on the point and some people have them off.
Now this reels back further, so we've got that tip of the iceberg sort of scenario where what you see is the finger on the point, but a lot of the time people put the finger on the point or underneath the point even, depending on what's happening with the finger and the thumb.
Should I grip it really light in my fingers, or should I be nice and tight and make sure that dart's not going to move?
It needs to be gripped firmly, but we also need to be careful that we're not putting too much pressure into the tungsten. So if you think when you release, the hand comes off. If you're pushing in tight, you're pushing inwards to the object with the hope then to explode off. And Chris Mason, ITV pundit, professional player, once come up with a very good analogy that I really like. He said the same with like snooker and pool, because if you're gripping really tight and you're trying to hit that ball, you're sort of fighting against resistance. Where if you're firm but loose, you can just sort of get that freedom, the movement. Now just switch that to here, and it's very, very similar.
Right, so now I want to look at different ways to actually hold it. Now, me personally, I like my thumb at the rear of the dart, and what I mean by that is my thumb is the furthest or the nearest to the stem, shall we say.
Different ways work for different people depending on height. We've got to remember height is a factor. You wouldn't tell someone short to throw someone who's tall. So we've got to remember those different facts. The next thing is the flight of the dart. Ideally, we want that nice little arc. Now, the further back the dart we go, the more of the arc we're going to get. Now, as the thumb comes back, if it comes back behind the finger, what we've then got to fight against is that flick. You use a scallop.
Yes.
And that will help with that flick.
It does.
If you were to throw a straight barrel, chances are it's going to flick off to the side.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the dart at the angle where it lands, point left, flight to the right. To get that clean release, we need to be a bit further down the barrel.
And now I've noticed a different way is to put the thumb in the middle. Now I call this thumb middle, where you have a finger at the front, a finger at the back, and the thumb's in the middle of those two fingers. I've known you for a while, and that's how you grip.
It is, and I like the dart to land quite flat, and that helps me with that. Regardless of what dart I throw, I can seem to get it to land that similar sort of way. But the other thing is it allows the hand to open very cleanly, and you get that sort of V shape very easily within the hand, and it can just sort of turn over and over the top. A lot of people talk about follow through in darts. This thumb in the middle of the grip is a very easy one to get that, because it just allows the wrist to sort of come over and through.
And then one last one that I want to talk about that I've seen a while, and it always reminds me of good old Bob Anderson, gripping the dart right at the very front. You see a few people do this, not too many. What happens with that one?
Speed. It's purely about speed, because what you don't get is you get that arc that you get to the dartboard. It goes flatter. If you think about Bob Anderson, it was very much like firing out of a gun.
Yeah.
And it will allow speed, it'll allow the dart to travel through to the board. And even though Bob Anderson had quite long darts, they still landed a bit flatter than you'd normally expect, because the dart wasn't coming from high to low, it was going more direct.
Guys, I hope you've learned something from this today. There are lots of different ways to grip a dart. Thankfully, I've got an expert next to me that knows what happens with those different grips. Make sure you're subscribed. Loads more tips like this coming for you soon on the Mission YouTube channel.